This is Marky Mark Markellis from Soul Wizard Podcast, and you are listening to the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network.
Are we ready, or are we going to keep typing?
Sorry, I'm good.
Are you?
No.
Oh, okay.
But go ahead.
Don't step on my intro again. I can see it. I can see it all over your face.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what? I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people.
Right.
You want people to care. You want to strike emotions. And I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one
quarter pounder with cheese and France, Mickey. What? Boy, ale with cheese, Mickey. Yeah, I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice up my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey, everyone. You're listening to Superhero Speak. And I'm your host, Dave.
And John.
JD here.
You woke up. Good.
Barely.
Good. So now, the email said we are not a political podcast, so let's start with the Christian faith.
Go on, ripping that wound right open right away. I respect
Wow.
It was literally the headline of the email today.
Yes. Wow. I thought you got it all out in our conversation earlier, John. Never?
Never. I am a political animal.
Look, we'll see. As of right now, it looks like we have a new president, but we'll see. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Like I said, I'm willing to talk religion if you'd like.
Okay. All right. So Satanists, what's the deal? Oh, sorry. How are you, John? What is new in your world?
Not much, really. I'm just, trying to burn off all of my time off for work before the end of the year, because some of it goes away. And otherwise, I've actually started pulling out all, because of this, I started pulling out all of the long boxes of comics I've got. I have a lot more than I thought I did. I thought I'd left some at my mother's house, and I haven't. Or if I have, then I have way more than I thought I did. So, tomorrow or the next day, we could probably pick another comic, and it's my interests go all over the place, though. So you guys might.
We will not be discussing. We will not be discussing the Marvel swimsuit issue, though.
No. But there is a comic, and I can't remember the name of it, that was rated R that I used to read. I forget. It wasn't Image or anything. I don't know what imprint it was. I'll have to go find it. I know I've got copies of it downstairs.
I know the Nightmare on Elm Street comics were. No,
this was a superhero comic.
Huh.
It was one of those ones where, like, I picked it off a shelf. I was like 21 when I got this one, and you're reading through it, and all of a sudden, hey, there's nudity. What the hell? I didn't expect that in a comic shop. So, but anyway, otherwise, just dealing with the fact that election stuff, and hoping that Pfizer is correct and not pulling our legs about the how well their trial is going.
Here's my question then, on all seriousness, right? Because they're saying what, 93% effect?
90% last 90, I heard.
Yeah, so really high success rate, which is interesting in itself. But then it's like they want an emergency, get it passed through quickly.
Yeah, here's the problem. Who did the study? How large was the study? who was their independent?
It's not peer reviewed yet.
Yeah, exactly. So and you got to remember that they can file an emergency acceleration in the FDA, but Trump got rid of all the regulation in the FDA for this. So there's no protections. So
they did do that with the H1N1 vaccine.
Right, but back then they had all the regulations stating you had to meet certain requirements, and all those regulations are gone now. So it could kill 1% of the people that take it, and the regulation.
So that's the question.
That's not acceptable. It's not there anymore.
That's the question. Would you be in that first round of people to get the vaccine?
I think JD and I would be in the same thing if it gets peer reviewed and the scientific community says this is good, and Fauci's like, go for it, then I'd be all for it.
Fauci says it looks good. He came out today and said, he says, I trust this.
Yeah, all right.
That meant a big difference to me, man.
Yeah, no, that does. You're right.
If he's on board, I'm on board. I mean, I trust that guy. Like I said, I want to coach wrestling in April. So whatever it takes to get this back, I'm good.
Just remember that this particular type of vaccination, first off, it requires refrigeration down to, I think, 90 degrees below zero or something crazy like that. And you have to take it twice, a couple of months apart for it to be fully effective. It's like there's two types of vaccinations, and this is like the harder one. Yeah. So like distributing it is going to be hard. Because not every your average CVS doesn't have a freezer that can, store this.
You're going to probably have to go to your doctor's office for this.
Yeah.
Or the best thing would be even regular doctor's office don't have the facilities to store a large amount of these, if any at all, because of the requirements for refrigeration. But once Biden's installed, they'll probably if this gets approved, they'll just have buses going around with refrigeration units, and
Yeah, I'm not going to get a shot off of a bus.
That's a question. I mean, I don't know if it's peer reviewed and it's good to go. Because I trust peer reviews. I trust studies. There's always, when it comes to a new vaccine, there's always going to be something. Am I on mute? Oh, you're whispering.
No, you're here.
Oh, so I'm not willing to be a guinea pig, but I'll go first round if it's looking safe.
Yeah, well, if it gets peer reviewed and the study's large enough, then that's pretty good.
Hey, you want to come in the back of my bus and get a vaccine? Come on,
stop. You know what I
children.
I mean. They have mobile testing stations. They can have mobile. They've had mobile.
I've worked for companies that have mobile testing stations. I would never step foot in one. All right. How are you, JD?
Oh, I'm pretty good actually.
Apparently going through withdrawal of wrestling.
No, actually not. I'm good. Now that we know we have a plan, I'm okay.
Yeah, that's
good.
true.
I'm fine. I get a nice little. I get Christmas off. I've never had Christmas off.
Oh wow.
So this is fantastic for me. I know a bunch of the community are not happy, but I'm ecstatic. I think this is great. We'll get an abbreviated season, but I haven't had an abbreviated season ever. So I'm enjoying my break. Last week I spent the week watching more cable news than I probably have in the last 2 decades. So I did not get as much work done. So I sat down to do some novel writing yesterday, and I went, how the hell does this book go again? So I had to go back into my notes and figure out what the hell I was doing a week ago. And then today I released probably the best piece of content writing I've ever done for Fightful Media. I got to do a profile on a senior level Greco-Roman athlete by the name of Joe Rao, who just a remarkable story about, really triumph over adversity and triumph of the human spirit type of stuff. I'm really happy with how it turned out. We just put that out today. So I'm really happy with that, fightfulmedia.com. fightgamemedia.com. I don't write for Fightful.
I was going to say, wait.
Fight game.
An upbeat story in this day and age?
Well, not all upbeat, but I mean, it's good. It's ups and downs and the life of an amateur athlete and how they're actually quite professional, but how at the same time it's a very difficult existence. So it's pretty good stuff. I'm really proud of it. Yeah. How are you, Dave?
I am doing okay. How's that? Does that sound good?
I was very convincing. I totally bought it.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned the vacation thing, and it was like my boss has been hounding all of us. Oh, make sure you get all your vacation at the end of the year. And I'm like, I realized I didn't take any vacation this year, and I can only bring a week over. So it's like, uh-oh. So I've been taking the last week of the year off, but
good for you. Well, staycation.
Yes, exactly. I'll have to see what I'm going to do, because I didn't tell you guys this last week, but my daughter is driving me nuts. Like I understand people being afraid of the virus and being careful, but she wants me to self-quarantine for 10 days before I go over. So I had to do that before Halloween, and now I have to do it again for Thanksgiving. And I was hoping to spend time there at Christmas, but I don't know if I'll be able to do it a third time. Come on, vaccine.
My sister just got married the other day. Came home with the COVID. They went to Vegas.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So, well, still a thing. I know some people thought it would disappear after last Tuesday, but that has not happened.
Somebody didn't check their wedding registry, huh?
I'm not sure when it happened. It could have been a lot of things, but I'm a little concerned for her right now. She's got a lot of health issues, but it's a thing, man. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why I am just full on hermit. Like I'm a.
Wait, I thought that's because you didn't like people.
Well, that too. That helps a lot.
Works out well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a complete introvert, so they keep asking me at work, when do you want to go to the office? Like, what office? I don't remember any office.
Why? Why go to the office?
Right.
Yes, actually, too. Like, I'm pretty sure I had it, so I don't know, but that's a whole nother story. Like, I had all the symptoms. I was near somebody who had it.
When?
April.
A bit about the time.
Yes, it was my. I talked about this on the show. My mother-in-law passed away.
Yeah, I remember.
And I remember not long after that, I was kind of cough for a couple of days. Nothing serious, but it went away. I had a lot of the other symptoms as well. I found out like a month and a half ago that my goddaughter, who was at the funeral, who I hugged a couple times, had it. She knew she had it while she was there.
Oh, that's shitty.
So,
oh boy.
So yeah, but I forgive her.
I weep for the human race sometimes.
And it's not like she's a kid, she's 30 now. So yeah.
Well, compared to us, she's still a kid.
Well, that's true.
They're the age responsible for the most spread. Like I've talked to a couple kids that I coach that are now in college. Like I got 2 kids. I got 5 kids wrestling in college right now. I want to say 4 of them have had it.
Yeah. And because kids think they're indestructible.
Yeah, exactly. Then they get lectured by the old man, and they're like, ooh.
So the good thing that happened this past week, maybe I'll get your guys' opinion. Are you caught up on The Mandalorian?
No, I missed it. I forgot till last night, and I didn't have time to watch it today. So I'm going to do a double feature on Friday.
Genocide is so much fun to watch.
You guys want? I can check out for a minute if you guys want to talk about it.
No, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything else.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean that won't tell you anything. You have to watch it to figure it out.
No, it's it's interesting. I'm not going to say anything. What?
Good interesting or bad interesting?
There is controversy.
I hear people are bitching a little bit this time around.
Yeah,
it's I'm trying to. I feel like they teased something major at the end of the first episode.
Yeah, Boba Fett.
But they didn't pay off on it at all yet, and it's like
they're not going to. That's.
I know, but it's so frustrating. It's like, well, there's also people who are complaining because of the end of the first season with the Black Saber and
Dark Saber,
Dark Saber, and what's his face.
Yeah, they haven't paid up Giancarlo Esposito's character.
Yeah. So, but it's like, yeah, they'll get there, but
it's another one that they're not going to.
They can get there when they want to get there.
It's going to be a slow burn, I think, and that's what's frustrating.
That's fine. I mean, we don't need to have everything thrown at us at once. Like, tell me a story. I don't mind this kind of.
I want it all now. I'm impatient. So, what do you? I'll put it out to our audience. Are you guys watching it? What did you think of the second episode? And are you just itching to see Boba Fett? So,
are you just itching?
In which case, go see a doctor.
I was going to say,
you need a topical cream.
Did you sleep with any strange people? So, like, be careful.
Okay, that went right off the rails. moving on.
So let's talk a little social media madness.
Okay. Why don't we go back to that bad?
You asked for this, John. That's
No, it's my fault.
All right. Before we get to the social media madness, so if you want to be shouted out on the air, make sure you give us a review over on Apple Podcasts, or I think they can do it on Spotify and Stitcher as well, and we will shout you out on the air.
Or send us $1 attached to a copy of Spider-Man #1 and send it to Superhero Speak.
To the Patreon. Those 5-star reviews come in handy. We need them to help the algorithm, help grow the show. Please be very generous with them. We deserve 5 stars. We're entertaining you for the better part of an hour. Show's an hour and a half. We entertain for the better part of an hour. So,
maybe 15 minutes.
So that's all we ask. Give us them 5 stars. Be generous.
All right.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right. On the social media. So we had talked about David Hasselhoff voicing the one and only Superman in an upcoming animated DC feature. And we had Rob Foster said, that is the best item in the current news cycle.
Okay.
That was
it's very general.
That was on November 9th. I don't know if that means anything. And the Gorilla Brain podcast said, as long as he sings in German, I am fine with it.
Yeah.
Hey, he can sing.
He can sing, especially in German.
Yeah. He was big in Germany.
Yeah, I know. He was big in the European circuit. Never made it in the U.S. Wonder why.
Because in America, we can't separate. We can't let entertainers switch genres.
That's true. This is a hard time for people. Yeah, there's a lot to that.
Depends on the entertainer, but yeah.
I mean, most people kind of make it in one. They kind of force you to stay in that lane here in this country.
Yes. Yeah, there's very few that are triple threats, as they say. Then we had also talked about, of course, John's favorite news, that Michael B. Jordan will be producing a Static Shock movie for DC.
I cannot wait.
To which the Gorilla Brain podcast responded to this, said, I'd watch a Bruce Lee biop starring Michael B. Jordan because anything he's in is gold. Yes, even Spawn. He's making a joke saying that Michael B. Jordan could do anything and it would be good.
First of all, Spawn is an all-time classic property, and Michael B. Jordan would be perfect to be in Spawn. Second, don't talk bad about Spawn.
What about Bruce Lee?
Well, that's ridiculous. It can't be worse than that crap Quentin Tarantino put out a couple years ago.
That's true, but I don't think the Jamie Foxx Spawn movie is getting made.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Todd McFarlane has been talking about a new Spawn since the last Spawn came out when I was in high school, and it's not. We're not any closer to that happening.
No, we're not. One day,
maybe. Got to get that 5th Spider-Man reboot out first, though.
Oh, okay. We also talked about Oscar Isaacs getting cast as Moon Knight. So which JVD of the Crossover Collision podcast said, I think Oscar Isaac will do the role justice but my issue is his age. With new characters to the MCU, would you think Marvel would cast younger for a long-term investment? It makes me question how much stock Marvel is putting into Moon Knight as a key character in the future.
Moon Knight wears a giant hood. Anyone can be under that giant hood.
Exactly.
Like, it all matters. Like, Mark Spector needs a good actor to portray him. Robert Downey Jr. is older than Oscar Isaacs.
This is true.
And he was Iron Man, and the world wept for him. Literally wept for him.
Yep.
So
that scene still gets me.
Oh, how can it not?
And then 8-Bit Ray again from the Gorilla Brain podcast chimed in. He played a great Ivan Ooze, so the world is his oyster.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Oh,
the world has forgotten.
I know, but like, if you want a really cheesy performance, that was just brilliant.
The end of Days of Future Past, where they do the En Sabanur thing, I was so excited to get Apocalypse in a movie. Then they gave us that.
Yeah. That was not
good.
No. Yeah, I don't understand what they were thinking. They could have just done a CG apocalypse.
They should have done a CG apocalypse. They had the right guy to play him. Just do a voiceover. Do what they did with freaking
Thanos.
Well, at least they made it up with Dark Phoenix.
Chirp, 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 chirp.
And then finally, we had talked about JD's favorite topic, the Snyder Cut, and Jared Leto's Joker joining the Snyder Cut. And we had some replies on this. Kill Switch said, like 12 people liked Leto Joker.
Yeah.
Not his fault that it was not the Joker. We get Psycho Joker back in the 90s, grudge metal rock Joker or whatever was going on there.
See, they're wrong. He's not a 90s grunge rock. I thought it's nothing like 90s grunge, whatever. What he looks like is he looks like a young rapper. He looks like Takeshi 6ix9ine or something like that, or Post Malone.
Yeah.
That's why I affectionately called him Little Joker on this show.
Yes.
Right down to the grill, right?
Right. Like he looks like a rapper. Like that's what they look like. And the young rappers these days.
You expect him to confront Batman and say, "Kiss the ice, dog."
No, I didn't actually. But
and then John Taloni said, "Can we just call an end to the trash fire that is the DCU? Keep Cavill and Godot, toss out the Pattinson footage, and get a new Batman.
Ooh.
Grant Gustin as the Flash. Lord, he has earned it. Amell as Green Arrow, and do a new Justice League. Call it Earth 2 if you have to."
So we've seen like 3 minutes of what Robert Pattinson has done as Batman, and the vast majority of people seem to be okay with it.
Yeah, and it's not enough to really make any kind of judgment call, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that is all the social media madness for the week.
Thank God.
Keep it up and I'll get you more.
Hey, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Behave.
So here is our good friend D Square to tell you how you can be part of social media madness.
D Square.
Enjoying the show? Want to be part of social media madness? Make sure you are following superheroespeak.com, where you can find all of the show's social media links at the top of the page. While you're there, you can check out old episodes of the podcast as well as some other great content. Check the site often because we are posting some great comic reviews as well as comic book and movie news content every day. Make sure and follow us on Twitter at SuperheroSpeak. And while you're there, check out the rest of the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. You can follow them at @stars_geek. The Geek World All-Star Podcast Network include great programs such as the Pop Prison Power Podcast, Cult 45, So Wizard, Fans on Patrol, the Gorilla Brain Podcast, and of course, Superhero Speak. Search for #GWAllStars. You will not be disappointed. Now it's back to Dave and the boys on Superhero Speak.
Oh, thank you, Don. Apparently, JD misses you.
He's got a great podcast of his own.
Yes.
You'll Make a Level Nerds.
The Make a Level Nerds podcast, available on Twitch and YouTube and wherever podcasts are available. You should definitely check him out. And on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right. We're back. I realized on the email that I had one of my news stories up at the top in the social media madness section. And since we just talked about Jared Leto and the Justice League Snyder Cut, we'll lead with this.
I feel like this has become a Snyder Cut podcast, and I'm not quite sure how it happened.
I know you sound very far away, JD.
That's because I got to get closer to my microphone. I was adjusting. I wear headbands now because my hair is too long because you see my face, so now I have to wear like a bandana in front of my.
Or you could get a haircut, you hippie.
No, and not till it hits. I made a deal with one of the kids that like I said, season starts in April. We'll have the state quote unquote state tournament in June. He wins it. I'm going to have long hair, and I will cut a mullet for one day.
You still sound far away. How long is your hair?
That's a good.
That's a good one, John.
That's a good one.
I'm shocked.
Oh, but yes, no, JD's right though. It's like this Snyder Cut thing is becoming. I mean, this is going to be like a cultural touchstone if it keeps up.
Whoa! Cultural touchstone. That's not
I didn't say a good one. You know, this could be this could be, you know, like, okay, no, it can't be good, but it could turn out to be another The Room or something like that. I mean, just so bad
disaster is what it's going to be, but that's okay. That's why we're here.
But first off, there isn't much going on nerd news wise anyway.
Yeah.
But when I saw this, I was like, I knew, like, I've seen the articles of who's been at it and whatnot, and I didn't realize how many there were. That's why I kind of wanted to bring it up. So first, of course, we had the Joker, played by Jared Leto, which, again, I don't know why, because he wasn't, even like he was in it, was cut. Darkseid, of course, played by Ray Porter.
God. Does he just sit in a throne for the whole cut?
Sure.
No, I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, the CG that we saw so far was horrible. So for him, Desaad, played by Peter Guinness, which
how cool would it be if they had Alec Guinness play Desaad?
That would you know, if it were Marvel, it would be possible. But DC just like they can't even handle a mustache. I don't know how they'd handle a dead person.
I just thought it was weird, like, because I don't remember them talking about him as a character that got cut, you know, so it's kind of like...
He is a character who should be. Like, the fact that they went it's so weird, they went New Gods and throw out Steppenwolf. And it's like...
Well, that's my whole thing. They've already had Steppenwolf. Why do you have to add Desaad? I don't know.
Desaad's a much better character. Like, if you should have had... To have, like, some kind of a human touch on, you should have had, you know, Glorious Godfrey or G. Gordon Godfrey. You know, like, there's a lot of things they could have done, but didn't.
All right. This, I think, ups the ante for the Snyder Cut. I can't say the name. Nudius Volko?
He's in Aquaman.
He was an Aquaman played by William Dafoe. I mean, come on. William Dafoe in anything. No?
Yeah, he's great. No, he's great. I'm good.
See? There you go. JD just bought his ticket.
Are they going to add a 5th hour onto this thing? I mean,
they're going to have to. There's too many damn dudes for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Of course, we have the Atom being played by Ryan Zhang, which we have no idea for this because, but apparently he was in the original cut and was taken out. So
it doesn't. You know what? I don't think I've mentioned this before, but like none of this matters if they are going to keep the parts of where on Themyscira they have all of the Amazons dressed in bikini armor.
They will. Zack Snyder.
I know. And that is like, and it, you know, it's just indicative of the problem that Zack Snyder is just going to ruin this no matter how much talent they throw into it, how many cameos, you know, it's just, they could have the entire cast of Star Wars walk behind in one scene and it wouldn't matter because it's just the whole thing's just going to be crap.
Right. Because then you start getting to characters like Eleanor Stone, played by Karen Bison. It's like, how much was she really in it? You know, are they going to be adding more scenes with her?
Well,
Iris West, played by Kiersey Clemens. Like, we saw the scene where Barry runs into her, you know, knocks her over, and it's like, okay, but are we going to have an Iris Barry love story in this, or is it just like he meets her?
Yeah, that's probably it. Like, same with Cyborg's mom. Like, that's what you've seen is probably what's going back in the movie. Like, they're not going to have character arcs. They can't. 10 episodes.
Harry Lennox as Martian Manhunter.
But what are you going to do?
How do you add Martian Manhunter and he's not one of the main characters?
Exactly. And
because Geoff Johns is just...
You're still very far away, JD.
I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to talk.
I can hear you. It's just like
it's
half
just
of
you
our
sound
volume.
like far away. Is it your mic's not plugged in properly?
Take the hair away from in front of your face.
You guys continue. I'll be back.
Okay. So yeah. No, but it's exactly like you're not going to get story arcs for any of these characters. So you're kind of ruining some of these major characters. And the other thing was with the John Jones thing. It's like it's the Colonel from Man of Steel. He played the Colonel, and his name tag said John Jones. So everyone's like, "Oh, it's Martian Manhunter," but
that's not Martian Manhunter's storyline.
First off, exactly, but two, like, is he playing Martian Manhunter, or is he just going to be the same kernel that he was in Man of Steel to tie them together. You know, it's interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about this because I don't know. They're saying 4 hours was the last I heard. I think it's going to become a television series.
It is a television series. It's a 4-episode television series.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, again, like, this is going on HBO Max, right? I think we talked about that, right? I mean, there's a couple of things on HBO Max that I actually want to watch. I am getting to the point where I will be forced to get a month of it just to check it out, and I will watch Snyder Cut at least until I decide whether it's interesting or I just can't go on. I mean,
like me and The Boys.
Yeah, well, at least I made it to the end of the second season of The Boys, but because it was the first season of that was interesting, but we're talking like a 4-hour, supercut of Justice League that nobody liked to begin with. It's just, I mean, JD, are you gonna watch it or are you just gonna?
We're gonna talk about it in the show. I have to watch it.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna suck ass. I got to be there.
We should. This is one of those ones where we should do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You weren't around for that, JD, but we used to. The first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. we like would watch the episode and then do a podcast immediately after it.
Good.
Sucked. A live stream.
I hated that first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so much that I never watched it again. I heard it got a lot better.
Yeah, and we firmly defended it.
It did get better though.
You firmly defended the first season.
Oh yeah,
second season. Yeah, I didn't like the first season.
I thought the first season was okay, but it did get better.
Grant Ward is the worst television villain God ever created.
Yes, he was milquetoast.
Yes, and I'm like, Agent Ward's supposed to be scared of him, and
they kept bringing him back, which was the worst part.
Yeah, because he sucked.
Hey, it was no Gotham. Gotham just enough.
Gotham's worse.
Went downhill, continually downhill.
Gotham started downhill and kept going.
It started at the bottom of the hill.
So yeah, so at least it was consistent.
Yeah, but you know what's going to hopefully be good?
What?
WandaVision.
That will be good, I think.
Show's going to be terrible. No, I'm kidding. I can't wait for it.
So I thought this was interesting. It recently came out that part of WandaVision was actually filmed in front of a live studio audience.
That is so genius.
That is awesome. Because they wouldn't be able to get the laugh track right otherwise.
Right.
Well, they could, but it'd be different. Because of those shows that had the dead laugh track, it was like weird laughing. Like now you'll get some appropriate laughing, which could actually work better. So I'm excited. I like this idea.
Yeah, no, it's different. I mean, and you don't expect that in a superhero TV show. So,
but that's part of the realities are following 50s, 60s, and 70s sitcoms, right?
Right. But I mean, this goes back to something
70s and 80s, I'd say. On that. But
this goes back to something we've said about the MCU from the beginning, which maybe they got away from a little bit, but hopefully this is bringing it back, is all of their movies and now shows have their own kind of like feel and theme to them. They don't follow the superhero formula, And
yet they work so well.
So yeah, that's why I'm like really excited about this. It's like something very different. Like I can't wait. But alas, I didn't include it, but apparently they're saying now not till next year.
Well,
tired of waiting. I mean, I know it's November already. But come on, give me my WandaVision.
I can't wait for this one. Like, this is going to be a unique television experience.
Yes.
Kind of like The Mandalorian. Oh.
Whatever.
Okay. Speaking of unique experience. No, that doesn't work. Speaking of the MCU, Tom Holland has confirmed they actually have begun filming on Spider-Man 3. He put a post out on social media of him in the costume. It's the red and black one from the last film. And
Tom Holland can do no wrong.
And it's funny because in the picture he's in the Spider-Man costume with a mask on, a face mask like COVID.
That's such an awesome Marvel-esque thing to have Spider-Man and then wearing the face mask over it.
Yes.
Like that's right out of like something the 70s. Speaking of 70s and 80s stuff that Marvel would have done. Fan of that. Big fan.
So obviously, everything going on and the craziness and whatnot, they're still moving ahead with this. What do we think?
I'm sure like the amount of money they have and the amount of money they've invested, that they are taking very good care of the actors and crew and taking all the steps.
Well, so
right?
I believe that. Heck, they were able to film season 2 of The Mandalorian without any major issues. And though I think that was like a closed set the whole time. And then apparently they're starting production on season 3.
Well, when half of your cast are sand people who are already wearing masks, I mean it's kind of easy, right?
I mentioned before, my cousin who co-hosts the Storybuilder podcast with me, he works in the film industry, and the sets he's been on, in light of the new adjustments, they're doing tests 3 times a week.
Yeah.
So I mean, like it doesn't surprise me. Like, so they're doing Batman. That's how we knew Robert Pattinson had it. So I mean, they're gonna do everything they can to keep the ship moving.
But I'm just saying, they're starting filming now. When do you think they're gonna want to release this?
It's all
they could release it next summer if they're filming now.
Yeah, but they can't because
there's a joke that I've heard a couple people talk about going around, and then like the more and more it's like, so let's like best case scenario, the Pfizer vaccine gets released, and then
it'll take until the end of 2021 to get enough people vaccinated that it makes a difference because of the logistical problems of putting out a vaccine. With
hold on, please stop.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just answering.
I was trying to say something, and you like stepped all over me again.
I'm adding context.
Well, yes, but you didn't let me finish what I was saying. Let's just say best case scenario that the comes out, and by the beginning of next summer, things start opening back up, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have. Are they going to release everything at once? Or are they going to push everything back?
That's what I was going to say before you started this. It's like, 2021 or 2022 is going to be like, you're going to have to like go to the movie theater all Saturday and Sunday to catch up.
Right. Like, are you going to be going every week to see a new movie? And is that going to work?
Yeah, but
Sony doesn't care. Like if they have this, they think they have a trump card, so they're going to play it. Like they don't care what's been pushed back. They care about what their bottom line is. And I don't know what they've been holding back, but I don't think Sony had a major tentpole scheduled to be released this year, let alone one that could be on the same footing of Spider-Man. So they're our movie, deal with it.
And considering the box office history of the Marvel movies and Spider-Man in particular, like it doesn't matter what tentpole movie any other studio has, Spider-Man will just step on all over that.
Well, I mean, we've got Wonder Woman 84.
They don't care, man.
Black Widow. Just saying. Wonder Woman 84, Black Widow 2. There was something else that was supposed
They wouldn't do Black Widow 2 and Spider-Man at the same time because
or not Black Widow 2.
They're not going to cannibalize their own revenue stream.
It's not so Marvel doesn't have a choice in that. Sony owns Spider-Man.
Hold on. So here are the movies that were supposed to come out this year and didn't. Black Widow, Wonder Woman, Ghostbusters.
Oh, right. Shoot.
And I'm trying to think. There was like one or two more like tentpole movies. Plus now we got Doctor Strange 2 that's supposed to come out next year. The next Spider-Man movie, like it's going to be crazy.
Have they made the Doctor Strange movie? That was announced. I don't think they started shooting that yet.
Oh, I thought I heard that they were working on it already.
I think the fact that he's going to be in this new Spider-Man movie tells us more about where he goes heading into that.
That is true. Like probably not working on. Oh, Love and Thunder.
Love you, buddy.
Using a fidget spinner.
I'm using a fidget spinner. Good night, buddy.
Right? When's Love and Thunder supposed to come out?
Wasn't there Shang-Chi too? And Legend of 10 Rings.
But they got to make them. Like I said, like the Spider-Man thing's way ahead of it. The fact that they're already in production, like Marvel said that they're going to do all their shows first, and they pushed all their shows.
Yeah, that's true.
Shang-Chi is already in production in Australia.
Oh, that's right. But there was one that was in the can. I could have swore.
Doctor Strange 2 will be filming by the end of the year.
Okay.
Spider-Man's going to come out before all of those, probably.
But they're looking at Doctor Strange released on according to this, March 25th, 2022.
Okay, Love and Thunder is 2022 as well.
Yeah, so they're going to go Spider-Man before they'll do the shows, and then Spider-Man to launch Phase 4.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I think there's going to be a rush to try to get a bunch of these out as quickly as possible once things are somewhat back to normal.
No, see, if I'm them, I feel, because based on what John was saying earlier, 2022s are a pretty good bet, a pretty safe bet right now, because you can still focus on your TV production, because asses are going to be in chairs for at least a year.
Yeah.
And you have all these TV shows that you could just roll out. And if you're not planning, I mean, like, again, Marvel Disney ahead of the curve, whether they chose to be or not. If they're not planning on releasing anything until 2022, then they've got wiggle room.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting.
And just remember, by 2021, AMC is like warning that they will be bankrupt. They possibly will go like bankrupt by.
I think they're going to end up doing what Regal did and just shut down until they know they're going to have movies to show.
Yeah, I agree. Just because you're bankrupt doesn't mean you're going to close down.
Right.
Depends on Chapter 11 or Chapter 13. It's like reorganization or like fire sale.
No, there'll be reorganization.
Yeah.
Because there will be movies come out. They're just going to want to get the government protection.
Yes. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bankruptcy doesn't mean that you failed. It just means you don't want to pay your bills.
Well, like I said,
clearly, I'll just leave it at that. Clearly, that's what that means.
Yeah.
So, all right. And then the movie that we all wanted was announced. Apparently, Bloodshot did so well that they are working on a Bloodshot 2.
Oh my God! I mean, it was a popcorn movie. It wasn't bad.
Popcorn's fart.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it was like, how would it have done if it went in the theater, And then and we talked about this when we reviewed the movie, even though JD fell asleep. Is
true story.
How do you judge how it did, right? Because it didn't come out in the theater; it was all red box or whatever.
True.
And it's not going to make what it would have made in the theater. Do they have some kind of formula to go, oh, well, let's multiply that by 10? Oh, this is what it would have made, so let's make a sequel? Or, I don't know.
These studios are not in the business of losing money, so maybe it actually did pretty good on streaming and rentals. Because you don't make sequels to things that do terrible.
No, you don't. That's what I'm saying. It had to have had an audience.
Yeah, it must have done all right, which is strange. I think Valiant's got better properties they should tap into, but nobody's hired me and asked my opinion.
Yeah, but too many people are going to say X-Men Man of War is a copy of Iron Man.
Well, yeah, because it kind of is. It's Iron Man meets Conan, but I mean,
right.
Controversial statement of the year. X-Men Man of War is kind of, the book is better, but whatever. You've still got Archer and Armstrong, which is a super hilarious title, could be great. You've got Shadow Man, which is really cool. There's a lot of stuff at Valiant that's good. Eternal Warrior is cool. Again, Bloodshot is just it's a character with intentionally not much personality. I just find it strange that's what they let off with.
Because they kind of make him their flagship character. That's why.
Yeah, and I don't know why, because he never really has been in the comics, even when Shooter was running Valiant.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't run the company.
Venture capitalist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they well, that's why it was written for Vin Diesel. As you said, not much personality. So
you say that, and yet the man won America's hearts as Groot by saying one sentence with 1,000 different inflections.
Mm-hmm.
That's all editing.
You gotta have the tones. You gotta be I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. You know what I'm saying? There's some acting in that. Not a lot of acting, but some acting.
Yes. Why didn't he win our hearts as Pitch Black?
Riddick?
Yeah.
That's
Riddick's not bad. Riddick's not bad.
Yeah.
Pitch Black's a cool movie. The Chronicles of Riddick is bad. And I forget the third one's called because I never saw it. But Pitch Black's actually a pretty cool little, alien style, horror action thing.
And it had Claudia Black in it, who was riding high from Farscape at the time.
I'll go more for Pitch Black.
All I know is I think Marcellus from So Wizard is going to be so happy that they're doing a Bloodshot 2, because for the longest time, the last review on the So Wizard podcast website was the Bloodshot movie, because it was like the last new movie that came out that he
really
saw
was.
that he could review.
It kind of ruined everything.
Yep. So now he'll be able to go see Bloodshot 2 and review that to pair it with the first one. All right. On that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back with our main topic.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Beware my power. Beware my might.
You blew it.
What?
Yep,
You blew it.
Done.
Oh.
You blew it. It's like, in brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might.
Ooh, chills.
Beware my power. Green Lantern's lights. Second act.
See, I missed that line. That's right.
Freaking Marvel guy.
So we are going to discuss 2004's Green Lantern Rebirth, written by Geoff Johns, penciled by a crazy guy. I mean, Ethan Van Sciver.
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah.
You can see the one that I've got.
And I want to start off this conversation with an apology to my good friend John.
This is the first. Continue.
Because
for what? It's been 8 years. I mean, you've got a lot.
Oh, so we made you read a couple of Spider-Man stories that were in continuity, and you were confused because you weren't a Marvel guy.
This is yes.
I was so confused when I started reading this because I had no idea about half of the stuff that was going on.
Because I think this stems from Armageddon, right?
No, it's way after that. This is the prelude leading up to Infinite. This is like what gets the ball rolling toward Infinite Crisis.
Yes,
right. But I mean, Hal Jordan.
Hal Jordan. Okay, so Hal Jordan. Let's do this. Hal, I believe the story was Armageddon. No, Armageddon was Hawk from Hawk and Dove. He's the villain of that. Hal Jordan is the villain of the Hyper Time one.
Yeah, see, like that's
damn it.
Yeah, I know. Like, oh boy, what was the person on was it Twitter that was telling us how knowledgeable we are?
I know, we freaking blew that.
What was it? It's
Emerald Twilight.
No, Emerald. Okay, so Emerald.
It wasn't
Twilight.
Emerald Twilight.
Emerald Twilight is a story where that comes after the Death of Superman books, after Mongol has ravaged Coast City. Green Lantern moves on for about 4 or 5 issues as being normal. And then it really bothers him like 6 months later. And then he loses his mind and kills all the Green Lanterns and collects their rings. That's Emerald Twilight.
Okay.
But that's stuff you need to know to go into this book.
Yes, that's the whole thing. Like, you don't know any of this stuff. And all right, so like we normally do, before we get into it too much, we'll go around and talk about our first impressions. And that essentially is my first impression. I was confused. I mean, I knew that was essentially I knew that the premise was reestablishing Hal Jordan as the Green Lantern. And Kyle Rayner was the Green Lantern. But, like, he's talking about they're all dead. He's the last Green Lantern. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I knew none of that background, you know?
0 hour. Thank you.
And then the whole Parallax stuff. And I kind of went, oh, this is what they were trying to do with that movie. So
yeah, they really dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, that movie, that's not even worth talking about. Probably.
But overall, I mean, it's a good story. I think it's a little drawn out, but it felt like a long way to get from all the Green Lanterns are dead to kind of reestablishing the Green Lanterns and bringing Hal Jordan back. So, but I mean, it was okay. That's all I can say. So, John, have you read it before? And if not, what was your first impression?
I think what happened was I caught an issue of this at one point, but I never read the whole thing. So again, this little podcast has gotten me to read something that is actually pretty cool. What I really like is the edition that I have, and I bought the deluxe edition. In the back has all of Geoff Johns' notes, and there's the was it the proposal by Geoff Johns, and he goes over. This is how you know that Geoff Johns is a penultimate fan, right? He's got in his proposal, it gives the reason for literally everything. How Hal Jordan's body was still around. Who is Hal Jordan? How will Hal Jordan return to the land of the living? How will Hal Jordan be absolved in the eyes of the heroes? He goes in his proposal for this comic. Before he even wrote it, he had everything mapped out already. Had a reason for everything. Pulled in like Geoff Johns is wont to do. He pulls in trivia that most hardcore comic fans don't remember. Little minutia from issues past. And makes it interesting, specifically like giving the reason why Hal Jordan's hair turned white on the sideburns or whatever, and why the difference between how each one of them wields the power of the ring. The differences in how they do it. It's like man, I love his writing. So yeah, this is the first time I read it, and I am pleasantly surprised. And I got to see Hal Jordan slug Batman, which was nice.
I was going to get to that in a minute. So, JD, you suggested it. So you had read it when it initially came out, or what?
Yeah, I read it about a year after it came out.
Okay,
that's kind of when I was getting back into comics. Yeah, I really like this book a lot. I'm a DC continuity nerd. I stopped reading DC comics around the time of Emerald Twilight because I did like Hal Jordan, and I didn't like the fact that they to use wrestling vernacular, that he turned heel. Not only did he turn heel, but in Zero Hour he becomes the biggest bad guy in the DC universe. And there's friends that'll have that argue that that's actually like character growth and development, but comic books can't have true character growth and development because you ruin the property. Which is kind of what they did with Green Lantern. I mean, what they did. The Kyle Rayner stuff wound up being pretty cool. I'm glad I went back and read a lot of it. But this story reestablishes something that DC had been missing for a long time, and that is what made the Green Lantern Corps cool. Because I like Kyle Rayner a lot, but he's very Spider-Man. He really is.
Mm-hmm.
The Green Lantern Corps is unique. It's different. There's been knockoffs of it. Your Nova Corps. But, the Green Lantern, it's a good story. There's a lot of, rewriting of history, but that's kind of just what happens in comics. And I think it does it in a pretty elegant way. And what I like about this story a lot is this really kind of sets in motion the Geoff Johns era at DC Comics, when DC was financially doing its best and, was really doing good work. Like, this set the stage for Sinestro Corps War, for, Infinite Crisis, for what would later become Final Crisis, all the way up to Blackest Night. I mean, this is the birth spot of what made Green Lantern temporarily usurp Wonder Woman as the third member of the Trinity. So it works for me. I enjoy it.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm trying to think. I want to talk about some of the things. Let's talk about some of the things we liked in the book. I think one of the things I really enjoyed, and you just touched on it, JD and John, you both touched on this, is expressing the differences in their personalities of the different Green Lanterns. And this might be one of the only Guy Gardner stories I've read where I kind of liked Guy Gardner. Like, you can't really like Guy Gardner.
Guy's a dick, but I mean, he's like...
But you understand why he's a dick.
Yeah. He's like that jock in high school that he's a real dick, but there's something kind of endearing about him, but you still recognize that he's kind of a dick.
Right. But and I think Geoff Johns does a good job of explaining why he's that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you didn't just brush over, you didn't just make him a dick. It was like, he doesn't like authority and blah, blah, blah. And he feels like he's being pushed around. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, it makes sense. Like, it works. Like, I never thought about the character that way before. So, I mean, like John said, you can see Geoff Johns' love of the different characters and understanding what makes them unique and different.
What makes people fans of them. I mean,
yes. And I loved, again, the interaction between the members, because, Green Lanterns are the Corps is basically space cops, right? And and when you're reading the conversations between, John Stewart and Guy Gardner or Hal Jordan or whatever, you feel like they're old cops that have been on a beat together or they've seen action. So like you get like I just felt like the dialogue was written really well in those parts. So
yeah, I agree. I think he's got a good handle on these characters. Like he revamped the Jon Stewart character and made him a Marine. That was all. Actually, I believe that came from the cartoon, and then Geoff Johns kind of incorporated that into the comic because it worked and it made sense for Jon. It gave Jon Stewart a bit of an edge and helped define his personality. What I really like about this story is it really would be easy to do. I'm not blaming Ron Mars for this. These are the marching orders. They threw out Hal Jordan. And the second they made him the biggest villain, then they started trying to unmake it. They did the final night where he reignites the sun and dies. Then they did, the story where he turns into the Spectre. So, there really was this kind of like, maybe we shouldn't have done this all along. Geoff Johns could have easily killed Kyle Rayner, like Dan DiDio wanted to have done with both Dick Grayson and Wally West for years. Mm-hmm. He doesn't. He keeps Kyle around and doesn't just shunt him off to the side, but makes him an integral member of the core. And he still stays in these books. Like he becomes the lead character in both his own Ion book, and then later he becomes the lead character in the Green Lantern Corps book. So it's not like he got shuffled off to the side. He's still an important, vital member of the Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah, and the only one that was able to resist Parallax for a long period of time because he already knew fear and was able to face it. Which was basically a mirror image, an opposite image of Hal Jordan, who didn't feel fear, period.
Right, who ignored it. They kind of write that in that Hal didn't. It's not that Hal didn't know fear; it's that he just basically ignored it and let it kind of fester in him, which is not good. And it becomes like people critique Hal like Hal doesn't have a personality, and Hal does have a personality. He's a little dry, he's a little Daredevil-ish, but I mean, like we all know someone who's kind of, like I said, the man without fear. Well, it turns out you just you ignore the stuff that really bothers you and pretend that it's okay. And that you go do a bunch of other shit so you don't have to think about the stuff that bothers you. We all know people like that. It's more fun to read about people that, emote all the time, though. But that's just not Hal Jordan's character. And Kilowog's great.
Kilowog's always great.
It's fantastic.
Oh, that's another one. A moment that I really liked, and it made me think. And I'll tell you what it made me think in a second. When Green Arrow puts the ring on.
That's a cool story. Yeah, that's a cool part of the book.
When they're fighting Sinstra. And it made me go, wait a minute. In all the years that the ring goes to find the bravest person to take up the Green Lantern, why did it not go and find another existing hero?
Well, they've asked that about if Superman's so great, why couldn't he be a Green Lantern?
Right.
But it's like there's this line in the movie Miracle, the one about the U.S. hockey team. It's you're not looking for the best players, you're looking for the right players. Like the ring is choosing the people that will do it the best. Superman didn't need the ring. And even Ollie, and they say in the book, Ollie goes, "How do you feel?" He's like, "I'm exhausted."
Oh, no.
It takes everything Ollie has to operate.
And I kind of got, like I got that, like that made sense. But yet, like, what about Batman?
Batman has no imagination.
Yeah.
Oh.
And his soul is dark. I mean, come on, he's not.
Yeah. Batman could not be a Green Lantern. He's far too driven by rage. He could be a hell of a Red Lantern.
Possibly.
But yeah, he is not right. And Geoff Johns gets into this kind of stuff later on. Like when everybody basically can operate a ring, it really reflects on what is your personality type.
Yeah.
And
I know.
Is not that type.
Right. And of course this is the story where they kind of start establishing the color spectrum for the rings. How about you, John? What's something that you really liked about this story?
I'm looking through this. You mentioned the part where Ollie picked up the ring and used it. There was one thing he said about how, is it always this hard to use?
Yeah, and how it goes every time. Yeah,
every time.
And the pain, it actually causes pain for them to use it. And he says, that's every single time. So yeah, I mean, it's just little details like that make it fun to read, anything of Geoff Johns' work.
What I really like about that part, and I hate to step on you, John, but just real quick. Like,
no, go ahead.
Like, not only is that referencing the old hard traveling heroes stories from Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams, but it also references the fact that Hal Jordan brought Ollie back to life because Oliver Queen was shuttered off for about a good 5 years. Like He died in the mid '90s.
That's right.
Connor Hawk was the Green Arrow.
Yes,
it was Hal Jordan as the Spectre who brings Ollie back to life under Kevin Smith.
I completely forgot about that.
So this story. It's impossible to. And it's one of the flaws with it. Is it is impossible because I've done it before. I've given it to people and they're like, I don't get this. It's like, oh yeah, because you don't like. You got to really love the DC chronology and like the bumps in the road and all the warts that make DC what it is. To really appreciate this story.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I was going to say too. But when we get into things that about the book is that I feel like there were a lot of nods like that in the story that if you're not a DC chronology fan, you're not going to get them. Yeah. So, but we stepped on you, John. What was something else you were going to say that you liked about it?
I like one of the hardest things to write is conflict between heroes because, technically they're supposed to have the same end goals and you'd think they'd have common interests and all that. So, Batman and Hal Jordan hate each other's guts. And Geoff Johns gave a really good reason. And it's that, Hal doesn't feel fear. And that's Batman's whole shtick. So, it's like in front of Hal Jordan, Batman is just a man.
Huh. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So yes. And that makes sense. But like when I read that, it made me question it too, because I know it's the whole fear versus will, blah, 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 because I also kind of question why is will the opposite of fear? But to me, it's always been like bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's acting in the face of fear.
Yeah.
Using willpower, like willing yourself.
Yeah, right. So it's
anyway. I think they addressed that in this story, don't they?
Yeah. They hinted at it. I forget where, but they were, it was something like hope. They said something about hope and fear. The problem is, later on when they introduced the Blue Lanterns, the Blue Lanterns are the lanterns of hope. And when you get one of those next to a Green Lantern, the Green Lantern becomes super strong because you're powering your will with hope against fear, right?
There's a lot of that stuff.
Right. But I kind of read that as like, well, is he not afraid of him or he's just ignoring it?
He's just not afraid of it. Like the whole thing about Batman is I'm scary. And Jordan's like, whatever. Yeah,
I guess.
And it pisses Batman off because Batman is used to everybody, like even Superman is scared of him because you never know that he's got a plan for everything. And Jordan doesn't care if you have a plan or if you're stronger or whatever, he's going to power through it.
Right. He doesn't have a plan. That's his whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
I will figure it out as I'm going along.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's right. And they mentioned that in there too. Right.
Uh-huh. That's another character trait of Hal Jordan is that he doesn't have a freaking clue what he's doing. He's just that fly boy, and it really, I think that we read Darwin Cook's New Frontier earlier in the year. I think that evokes that spirit a little bit better than this one does, but the idea is still there, I think.
Yeah. He looks at a really bad Armageddon situation and goes, Geronimo.
Right. Exactly.
Jumps right in.
Yeah. Oh God, A New Frontier. It's like he's in the ship and he just kind of like,
here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
I might die.
I might die. Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
And there's something to that too, like it's a lot of that soldier mentality. I mean, like that's kind of what I like about Green Lantern is that it does feel different than a lot of other comic book heroes. It's not the Spider-Man of like, I'm motivated by the debt, by my mistakes, or Batman, I'm motivated by vengeance, or Superman, I'm motivated because I have to do this, like it's my responsibility. With Green Lantern, it's like it's a job, like it's a call. You're called to do.
Right.
Like it's almost like a religious thing of like, this higher life form calls upon you to do something you might not want to do, but it's really out of your hands and you need to make it work.
All right. So now we need to ask, what's anything that you didn't like in this story?
Me first or John?
JD, you go first, since you're the fanboy here.
Go for it.
It's impossible to read this without having some type of knowledge of DC comics. It's very inaccessible. It's very a lot of Geoff Johns' work is very inaccessible to new readers. It is like the penultimate, as John said, version of like your Wednesday Warrior fan. That's who he appeals to. That's his audience. He's not like a Grant Morrison that has this grand vision and imagination. You know, he's more of a kind of a meat and potatoes playing in continuity. He's real good at that type of stuff. And like I said, if you don't know what the Final Night was, if you don't know what Emerald Twilight was, if you can't tell me who the Spectre is and what he does, you know, this might not be for you.
Well, and that's another thing, like, because I knew that Hal Jordan became the Spectre at some point. So that part, I understood what was going on there. But again, yeah, if you don't know that you're totally lost.
Yeah, because like he starts out the story and you're like, what? Like if you know it, like looking back on this 15 years in the past, like in the future, you're like, why is Hal Jordan dressed in that? Why is he like pure white with a big green cloak? What is the Spectre?
Yeah,
and then you got to
go.
That. Yeah, it's okay. Well, that's the extension of God's vengeance. The Spectre is what God uses to punish the wicked.
Right.
In TC continuity, the Spectre costs Sodom and Gomorrah.
And you've also got the original Green Lantern in this too, and his daughter. And I'd forgotten that he had a daughter. And again, like the original Green Lantern, why can't I remember his name?
Alan Scott,
right. So, his ring, he's not even really part of the Green Lantern because his ring is magic, not part of the central battery. But, it's just, I don't know. One of the things that gets me about this is, okay, so the Green Lanterns are going after Parallax. Great. The entire rest of the Justice League is sitting there just watching?
Yes, that was going to be my point, is that I feel like some of the characters are there just to be there. Like they're just thrown in, and it was just like, really? Like, why are we doing this then? Yeah.
So, I mean, that it's nitpicky. It kind of hints at or alludes to the fact that, Jordan basically told them, stand down. This is a core problem and the core will handle it. But that's still like, knowing some of the personalities of the other heroes, none of them would have just stood by.
Exactly.
Or most of them wouldn't have just stood by. They would have
they're better off not of being written.
Oh yeah. But
Yeah, I kind of feel like they were at it to make the story feel bigger, but you already have the Green Lantern Corps. I think it would have been, if it was a smaller story, it would have worked better,
You could still have the big world spanning stuff. You just didn't have to tap into, you just didn't have to use the Justice League.
Right. And they didn't have to be throughout the whole thing. Like you could have checked in with them here and there, but.
And throughout the whole thing, they were just like, hey, we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing stuff.
You had there's a couple of parts where they're like when the Coast City reappears and they're going through Coast City and they find there's only one building standing, and they're all like, why is that address sound familiar? Blah, blah, blah. And it's Batman who goes, it's Jordan's address, and it just felt like they did that a couple of times where it's just like, look, see, he is the world's greatest detective. Oh, come on. Like what? Why are we doing this? Like, this is silly.
Can I go on record saying I hate Geoff Johns as Batman?
Yes, you can, because I didn't like it either.
It does seem kind of stupid, doesn't he?
No, not just stupid, but he kind of like that's his Batman's really growly, and it's like, like I said, it goes out of his way to do the world's greatest detective thing, and it just, I don't know, it never feels like Batman to me, so I'm not a fan.
Yes, yeah, and again, when you kind of feel like he was just thrown in just to be there, and they just have him like finishing sentences to make him look smart, and it's just like, it doesn't work for me. So,
and he was also there to be punched.
Well, he is, because Batman has that famous scene where he punched Guy Gardner.
I was going to say, and then I forgot to mention that in the parts that I liked. I liked that they reversed the punch.
And Guy Gardner was there to go, hey, nice job.
Yes. He knew what that felt like.
Yeah. It's like, I knew I liked you, Hal.
But again, that's there because Geoff Johns loves continuity.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is, so.
And then I'm also going to and I don't want to rag on the art, because the art's not bad, but
go for this. I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
There's something that it happens in this book and it happens in a lot of comics. Don't get me wrong, but every time there's an explosion, there's like a kaboom or crack or whatever, the what's the term? Come on, you're the writer.
Onomatopoeia.
That onomatopoeia. And it's like, and they've kind of gotten away from that in modern comics, and it just felt like there were so many explosions and they kept doing it. And it was just like, it got old to me. I just had to point at that.
I love my Bronze Age comics, Geoff Johns. and that's not an artist call. That's not a letterer's call. That is in Geoff Johns' script.
Okay.
Because when you're scripting a comic, you script the sound effects.
Okay.
I do them in my novels, so I mean, like I can't say I'm not guilty of it myself, but yeah, that's Geoff Johns.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, that got because there was also so many explosions at one point. Like every other page had an explosion, and I was just like, enough. It's just enough already.
It's funny you started talking about the art. This is probably Ethan Van Sciver's most well-known work, and he's kind of persona non grata in comics. And it's funny because he couldn't hit the monthly schedule when the monthly Lantern book started, and he was quickly replaced by Ivan Rice, who is just a lot better than him. Like I went back and looked at this and remembered kind of what was done with Sinestro Corps and Final Night or Blackest Night and all that stuff that was drawn by Ivan Rice, and I'm like, wow, he's a lot better.
So I will say this: it kind of felt like it's one of those things where it was competent, but like all the male bodies were the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Especially the Lanterns, if it wasn't for the different hair colors and masks, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart, and Gardner's bowl cut, it's just it works, but it's not the best. So
no, I agree. I think that, I think he's a flawed artist. I think that's a big, I think his male characters all look the same. I agree with that 100%.
Well, yeah. And he parted ways with DC in 2018 too because
he's Ethan Van Sciver. So he's Ethan Van Sciver. We just leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I do think they did the right thing getting guys like Carlos Pacheco, who immediately followed him up, and then later Ivan Rice on to, keep the ship going, and just did better jobs, to be quite frank.
Well, don't be Frank, be JD, but yeah.
Oh, well, I just flew in. My arm's tired.
Yes, but again, as I kind of said at the beginning, this is a story like they introduce the color spectrums of the rings, and they do the whole parallax thing and explaining that. But it's to bring Hal Jordan back, basically, from the dead, and reestablish the Green Lantern Corps, which goes back to JD's point about they're all properties, and eventually the properties revert back to their original forms.
They do. The illusion of change, John Byrne.
Yes. So I will say that in that sense, it does a good job at telling that story. But if you are not familiar with DC continuity, I don't know what to tell you.
You're going to struggle.
You're going to struggle with this book, very much so.
Yeah, this is a very much a love letter to the not the Silver Age, but the Bronze Age specifically.
And there's no heavy explanation either of like how we got here when the story starts.
No, there's no preamble.
There's no preamble. There's no exposition to say, remember when he became the Spectre?
Well, that would have cheapened it, because if you go into it, as you've already failed, because that's like.
Remember what Stan Lee said: you have to treat every comic like it's somebody's first comic.
Well,
Marvel does not do that and has not done that for 50 years.
Yeah, and that can get very, very tedious. And again, like the trope of the starting a scene with somebody going, as is kind of treating your readers like idiots, and it's been handled well maybe 5 times in the history of the world.
It's the thing is you're not writing for the newsstand anymore. When I was on the newsstand, I got when they would have like the Claremont blocks, Colossus, Strong, metal skin powers. You know,
I remember those.
That stuff like was necessary in 1984. In 2005, the only people buying these books are going to comic shops. Like most of them get it, and you know if they want to know more, they're gonna go to Wikipedia, which is what I did before reading it. That being said, it's still not. I did. I had to refresh myself because it was like I took a good 10-year break.
Yeah,
and I didn't read The Final Night until after this. I didn't read 0 Hour till after this. You know, so I did all this ex post facto. But that's a flaw. That is a flaw in the book. You know, because you shouldn't have to do a bunch of legwork to understand a single story. I enjoy it, but I'm not everybody.
This is like trying to watch Infinity War and Endgame without having. I just like trying to watch Endgame without having seen any other MCU movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my warning to our listeners. I highly recommend the story, especially if you're a Green Lantern fan. But you might have to do a little pre-reading before you jump into the story.
Yeah, no argument. It's the flaw, but I think I will go and say this. I think that's the best thing that Geoff Johns ever.
Really?
I really think that. I really do. I think just the way he distills the characters down, like he makes what he did with this is where he failed in the Flash. Is he makes a character that a lot of people didn't like, and that's Hal Jordan. He made him cool. Like he made him at least relevant.
Well, he gave Hal Jordan something to fight against.
Right, he did, and he said he brings the character back. You know, I don't think he's done a good a job with that as with Barry Allen. Like, I don't think any of the Barry Allen comics are as good as what was done with Wally West a decade and a half ago. I'll maintain that. But the TV show has picked up slack, so you know, no longer on version, I guess. But as far as this goes, like I think that there's something about this character that meshes well with Geoff Johns' sensibilities. And like his imagination, his whole, because not only does Geoff Johns like start touching on this stuff, like he starts cracking. Alan Moore wrote 2 Green Lantern stories, and those 2 Green Lantern stories become the foundation for everything that Geoff Johns writes. And they're short stories, like the Mogo story and Tigers, the story where you first learned about Abin Sur and the Blackest Night. Like those are obscure stories from the 80s. And they're like literally the foundation of what Geoff Johns did. So I mean, like this just represents the best of what Geoff Johns is and his unbridled love for this universe.
Okay, cool. I'll give you that. No, I mean it's good. I'm not going to say that. I don't know if it's his best, but
it might be. What would you say?
You know what? I'll say comic work probably. Yeah. Because I'm thinking of Stargirl.
Is he actually writing for that, or is he just producing that? Like,
no, he wrote it. So, yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say. I don't know what I like better, because you can't compare a TV show and a comic anyway.
They're different medium, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, all right, fine. I will give you that. It's his best comic work. So, before we wrap up our talk on Green Lantern Rebirth, you guys have have anything you want to add? What do you want to say?
No, I got nothing. I think I need to read more Geoff Johns before I can make the same assumption that, or the same assertion that JD's making. but I mean, it is like one of the best things that I've read.
Okay,
and that's coming from me, who's OCD and ADD and has a great appreciation for attention to detail, which Geoff Johns satisfies greatly.
Okay, then. All right, and I think I will say I do echo that, John. And again, after reading this, I kind of understand why the Green Lantern movie failed, because he kind of wrote that the same way he wrote this story.
Shoehorn everything into a 2-hour movie.
Yes, right, and assuming everyone is as big of a Green Lantern fan as he is. Better luck next time. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, so yes, we recommend this, and yeah, I think we're all enjoying it. All right, now before I wrap up the show this week, you guys have any recommendations for our audience, JD?
As a matter of fact, I do. The wife and I had a chance to.
What? Did we literally?
We lost you for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, my internet. Oh, we got storms coming through. Just little things. Oh wow, 17 movies. I'll try to get in.
Fun.
We watched Superman for Tomorrow, the animated film, and this is everything that Man of Steel should have been.
Do you concur, John?
I do. I bought the Blu-ray and watched it, and it was really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Cool. John, did you have any recommendation?
I'm going to make a book recommendation if you don't mind.
Sure.
So Harry Dresden, The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. Jim Butcher has basically dedicated his life to a 20-book series called The Dresden Files, and he made it to book number, I think it was 16, before he had some medical problems and went through a divorce. And he's finally, after 4 or 5 years, he's finally writing again. He's put out 2 new books. He's getting I think he's got 2 more books before he does the promised 3-book Armageddon, 3-part Armageddon series for his whole series. He's been writing this series now for 25 years, and it's probably it is by far the best urban fantasy series on the market for the last 25 years. And he's referenced by basically all the other writers that I know of, all the other urban fantasy or fantasy writers out there. So now would be the time to go to Amazon, get a copy of Stormfront by Jim Butcher and start reading and enjoy it, because it is awesome. Oh, also JD has some books out too.
I do.
One of them in which I die.
Yes. Those just got ordered finally from Amazon. They come to me, should be here tomorrow.
Oh, I will
ship them out. I'm very
Can I get a signed copy?
Yeah, of course.
That says "Rip John O'Grady."
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be fun.
Awesome.
No, you're right. The entire urban fantasy genre was built on Jim Butcher's back. That's 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Of course, I'm a big fan of the series as well. And for those who don't know, there are several graphic novels based on the books out that you can purchase at your local comic book shop. If they don't have, you can ask them to order them for you. Stormfront is the first graphic novel as well as the first book in the series. Yeah, I forgot those books were coming out. It's been so long, John.
Well, he came out with Peace Talks, and he came out with the next one after that. I couldn't believe it within a couple of months. So, because he's had Peace Talks mostly written for the last 4 years. So, so he must have just finished that off and had the other one already planned out and everything, because he had 4 years to do it.
Now I know what I want for Christmas. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to recommend that our audience goes to superheroespeak.com, where they can find the podcast every week. Comic book reviews by our good friend D Square. All the links for our social media on the top of the page. That's our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and whatever's else out there. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher and leave us a 5-star review, because it does help with our visibility. And I'm going to recommend, I don't know what I'm going to recommend. I haven't been doing much. Go catch up on The Mandalorian.
I'm trying.
They switched on us in this episode, which I was angry at first about, but I'll live with. I got to see one of my favorite things in Star Wars in this episode, so I'll leave it at that, because I don't want to ruin it for JD.
Thank you.
So on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for listening. Don't let your cake be caught in the door. Have a good week.